We've talked a lot about Vietnam, some good, some bad. Today, I want to talk about 5 things that I find are very important for Vietnam. The food and the coffee, the cost of living, the people in Vietnam, what different parts of Vietnam have to offer you as a tourist. Finally talk about driving through Vietnam. So with no further ado, let's get into it. The food and the coffee. When most people think about Vietnam, they think about the massages, the parties, cheap living, and the endless amounts of entertainment Vietnam has to offer. However, my mind goes straight to food and coffee. Vietnam's food is very diverse, and dare I say, it's not really consistent either, which is not a bad thing as you might think it would be. If you get pho from a restaurant, enjoy it, love it, you get that taste, you acquire what it is. As soon as you go down to another shop, it's not gonna taste exactly the same, and to some extremes, it tastes completely different altogether, even though it's the same food. This is a really cool part about Vietnam. Now, the coffee itself isn't too diverse and is more consistent throughout Vietnam in general. So if you're in South Vietnam, you've probably all have heard of coffee soda. And if you end up in the north, you go to Hanoi, you go to Lai Châu or somewhere up there, you're gonna hear something called coffee Saigon, which is the same thing as coffee soda. It's probably gonna be the most unhealthy coffee you will ever drink. But I promise you, you will smile the whole time and you'll go back for more day after day. There's a reason why Vietnamese spend a whole lot of time in coffee shops. It's that damn good. Now, if you're not into the sweet sugar or stuff like that, that's perfectly fine. You do have another option called coffee da. It's just a black coffee. It's very strong. The taste itself, it isn't too special. It's just coffee with ice. So don't expect too much. A lot of traditional Vietnamese will just put a little thing of sugar inside of it to sweeten it up some. Now, the final part, and nobody wants to admit this, and I'll say it, international food in Vietnam seriously sucks. Now, let me explain first. The food itself isn't bad. You're not gonna throw it up. I mean, unless you're eating seafood pizza. You've been to another country in general. When they make an international dish, maybe in America they make Vietnamese pho, it's gonna have an American kind of a taste to it, obviously. That's just what international food is. The problem in Vietnam with international food is the flavors change like 80 or 90%, and then they just slap a name on there. Say, hey, here's your tacos, good luck. Be it sushi, kimchi, pizza, hamburgers, spaghetti, it really is hard to tell if it's international food. The problem with it is it's so influenced with Vietnamese flavors. Even a Vietnamese person would most likely just think it's Vietnam food. International food in Vietnam isn't bad as in it tastes bad. It's just it's not equivalent to what it is as international food. Either way, let's get on to the next subject, cost of living. Living in Vietnam as a Western person can be one of the cheapest places that you'll ever find. Just the idea that you can get a job as an English teacher, a science teacher, work for 1 month and make the equivalent salary as a Vietnamese person that works 4 to 6 months. Even though we make a lot of money, a lot of us do fall in pit holes where we end up spending more than we make. So check out that video if you want to know how to live like a king. Living on $20 a week in a big city like Saigon or Hanoi, doable. Me personally, I've spent 75% of my time living in Vietnam in countrysides and northwest areas apart, really remote parts of Vietnam where I was able to live on $10 a week without a problem, and I was overeating. Stop drinking. Because if you go out one night in Bui Vinh, you're probably gonna blow through $50 to $20 that very night. Drinking alcohol is going to be where the most of your money you will spend in Vietnam. It's not the rent, it's not the food, it's not the day-to-day life, it's the drinking itself. And I almost forgot, international food is another exception to this rule. If you're always buying international food, you will spend a lot of money. International food in Vietnam is rather expensive, and you could just go outside next door and buy a whole thing of rice, chicken, some pho, whatever you want for like $1. It's almost cheaper to go out and eat in town every night than it is to cook at home. Find somebody to help you find a house. I've seen a lot of my Western friends pay $500 to $1,400 a month for a service apartment, which is not bad, don't get me wrong. Why not pay $300 a month, get a 2 or 3 bedroom house with 2 or 3 bathrooms, 2 or 3 different levels, privacy to your heart's content, a parking area for your bike, and only pay like $200 to $400 a month for all of this? And to get that Western feel that a lot of people are looking for, just go buy a bed, go buy a microwave, and write the money off as a loss because you're gonna save so much in rent. And I know a lot of people will say like, well, David, I wanna be in these like exclusive areas or where it's quiet. As soon as you walk out the door, it's Vietnam. we all walk out. Just find a Vietnamese friend and stop wasting your money on overpriced Western stuff that nobody pays for but you. And speaking of overspending, let's talk about the nightlife in Vietnam and the cost of living for that. You can most definitely blow through a couple $100s in a night going out to Bui Vinh in Vietnam. It can be done. But I will say this, it is actually pretty hard to do that if you are not Westerner. And if you are Westerner, you are blowing through that money, I'll give you some of my college advice. Pre-drink or go to a local market and get a couple before you go to the big street like Bui Vinh or something. Bring small bills. I see so many Western people, I've done it myself, where we just bring a bunch of 500s and then you get the bill, you have like 5 people with you, and you end up paying everyone's bill and they kind of give you some of what they owe you. Get some Vietnamese friends and start checking out the local parties, the local pubs. Go to a couple Vietnamese weddings. Go to some house parties with your Vietnamese friends. It is 99% cheaper. It is way more entertaining, and you're really immersing yourself into Vietnamese culture, which is a beautiful part about coming out here. You didn't come out here to live in California. You came out here to live in Vietnam. I will tell you, finding a girl at the library or at a local wedding party or a friend's party is going to be a lot safer, a lot long-term than meeting some girl in Bui Vinh that goes through the same cycle every night with a different guy. With that being said, let's get to the next one, the people. The people in Vietnam are a mixed bag, being for better or worse. Like any country, you're gonna have the good, you're gonna have the bad, and you're gonna have like the what the f kind of people, right? I found personally, when it comes to the big city, they don't last long, or they just kind of come and go. I guess it's kind of the same thing. And it's simply because you're in a city that's just busy. It's a rat race for everybody. So everything just kind of comes and goes. The time isn't a thing. But in the countryside, it was more relaxed. People were more long-term. People were more open. People are more kind of like just slowing down and chilling. And again, I'm not saying people in the city, big city being Saigon, Hanoi, or Da Nang are bad people. Not at all. There's a bunch of amazing friends I have there. But they will be more far from few and even just short term. In the countryside, it feels like it can be more long-term, but hopefully it helps you out with the people side. So let's hit on to the last subject. Different parts of Vietnam. Vietnam is about the size of California. So I want to give you my basic breakdown of the South, Center, and North Vietnam and what it has to offer you as a tourist. The South of Vietnam. Fast-paced city life, nightlife, beaches, and hot weather year-round. South Vietnam is one of the first spots a lot of people come when they first visit Vietnam. And why not? Always a close drive away from pretty much any type of beach, be it a private resort beach, a public beach, or even a fishing beach. They're always there. If the beach life isn't your thing, then Bui Vinh or even just random clubs that are open until 4 a.m. is a very common thing to find in South Vietnam. The city life in the South is always going on. Something is always happening. There's always a vendor, there's always a store open, there's always a party going on. It just never sleeps. You can almost think of South Vietnam is the Vegas of Southeast Asia. This is a big reason why the South of Vietnam attracts such a young crowd. But if you're not in this younger crowd or you just don't like to do this type of stuff, don't worry. South Vietnam has so much tourist stuff to do that will keep your time very occupied. You have a lot of options out here, and it's a big reason why a lot of people, when they first come to Vietnam, they come to the South. Central Vietnam is where things start to cool down, and it's not only the weather. The culture here is way more traditional. It's a lot of mix of European, French buildings. A lot of the food is mixed up. And you get places like Hoi An that's a very traditional Chinese/French environment. The food also starts becoming less sweet. Things like coffee Suda that we talked about in Saigon start getting called coffee Saigon, which is the same thing. It's just a change of the name. The city life is also a lot more chill. This is where you're going to find a lot more relaxed expats, a lot more chilled out Vietnamese people, where everything is just kind of like a 9 to 5. There's not as much nightlife that you find in Saigon. So come for the culture, come for the living. Whatever it is, Central Vietnam is going to be a nice spot. North Vietnam, looking for long-term living with some serious rain and a whole lot of cities to choose from? Tired of the constant hot or the overly sweet food? North Vietnam is a spot for you. And the resting place of the late President Ho Chi Minh himself. North Vietnam also has some of the most breathtaking views you will find in most of Asia. Places like Sapa, Lao Cai, Lai Châu, Hai Giang, Ha Long Bay, Hanoi, and even Hai Phong. The food in the north is not as sweet as you would find in the south, with the exception of a favorite up here called bún chả. Herbs are a big part of the cooking in North Vietnam, where you're going to find a lot of vegetables, herbs, and even the spiciness goes up if you know where to look. The nightlife in the north is good. It's not as insane as South Vietnam, but it definitely has a nightlife with a lot of expats and local Vietnamese involved. And getting back to coffee, the coffee soda that we're so used to with condensed milk, probably gonna be asking for coffee Saigon most of the time. And if you venture out northwest, you will see some of the most outrageous, insane mountain views that you probably will not find anywhere else, and really immerse yourself in the North culture. North Vietnam has one of the most beautiful cultures of Vietnam, and it's definitely something to experience. If you have a motorbike, drive, just drive, shut up and drive. The views are insane. Speaking of driving all over Vietnam, that brings us to our final subject. The ability to drive all over Vietnam on a motorcycle. Not only is this option one of the most popular in Vietnam, it's also one of the cheapest ways to get around. Traveling Vietnam is an amazing thing to do, and doing it by bike, it is simply something amazing that you have to do. And the crazy part about this is it's not that expensive. Give yourself between 5 to 6 weeks and about $2,000 to $3,000 for yourself. If you're going to the group, it could be much cheaper because you're sharing hotel fees. I would plan for 6 weeks, $2,000 to $3,000. Get on a motorbike and just get out there. So since we've been talking about travel, let me give you some of my travel advice I've used while I was driving from South to North Vietnam. Number one, pack light. I cannot emphasize this, pack light. The amount of people that we saw driving through Vietnam that had 60, 80 kilogram bags on their back just suffering. When you plan your trip to drive through Vietnam, do not detail your trip for where you're going, hotels pre-reserved, yada, yada, yada. Things are gonna happen unexpectedly, and this is gonna put a cramp into your travel plans. Don't over-plan your trips. Have an idea, have an outline, but don't detail it too much and expect the unexpected. Don't over-plan, trust me. Accept what's going on, enjoy where you're at. If you're stuck in that town, go out there, go meet the locals, go walk somewhere, go find a new restaurant. Enjoy the moments that you're taking. Remember, this is a vacation, this isn't a job. So I really hope this video did give you an insight on the positives and the great things about traveling and visiting Vietnam. But with all the good and all the bad, 8 years living here in Vietnam, I don't have any regrets. I've had bad moments, I've had good moments, but the overall experience spending almost a decade here, there's no regrets, and I would not take it back to do anything else. And with that being said, guys, I'm gonna get out of here, so I will see you again.